Hey everyone, and welcome back to Battleborn. I've got an update for Galilea's Corrupting Onslaught build for you, and despite her getting changed on numerous updates since the original build, this build remains unchanged for the most part. We're going to take the same Helix options, we're going to have slightly different gear, but the gameplay is going to be exactly the same. She's just as effective as she ever was. In fact, I would say she's more effective now because of the more difficult minion waves. Alright, so on this video, we're going to be talking about her abilities, her Helix choices, and the gear I like to bring for the build. So let's start off with her passive, Corruption. Attacking and using skills accelerate Galilea's Corruption, which deals up to 20 damage per second and steals health from nearby enemies. So whenever you're corrupted, you have a big purple circle around you. Anything inside the circle you're going to be doing damage to and stealing health. It's not a huge deal, but it helps, and every little bit you can get is always useful. It becomes incredibly useful though once we augment it at level 5, where we're going to get more attack speed based on our corruption level. So if we're at max corruption, we're going to get 16% more attack speed, and that is a huge bonus. Alright, next up we've got the Wraith's Greatsword, her weapon. Galilea's primary attack strings a series of attacks with her Greatsword and Great Shield into a swift combo. So the trick with Galilea is you want to be moving whenever you're attacking, because if you are, she'll do one swing, another one swing, and then the third attack she does is a spinning attack that hits like 5 times, or it's 3 to 5 times. I can't remember the exact amount, but it's a lot of damage. So you want to make sure you're constantly moving with her. And at level 3, we're going to augment her weapon, so whenever you're at full health, you're going to shoot off some energy beams off your weapon, so they're going to become, it's going to become a ranged attack as well, as long as you're at full health. And the single hits are going to do 1 energy beam, and the full like swing combo that she does is going to shoot off 3 energy beams. And they also hit in melee, so if you're close to something and you're at full health, you're going to hit them with the melee swings plus the energy bolts, and that is how Galilea gets absurd damage. So if you can keep her at full health and get into melee with people, you're going to rip them to shreds. Alright, next up we've got the Sentinel's Great Shield, and that's her talent. Galilea's secondary attack raises her Great Shield, absorbing up to 1,000 damage at the cost of agility. So she's got your standard shield, you use your secondary attack, and it'll raise the shield, it'll absorb 1,000 damage for you. Pretty standard. At level 4, however, we're going to give it a 35% chance to reflect projectiles when she's blocking. So if someone's pelting you with ranged attacks, you can fall back on your shield and send some of those back at them. Alright, so next up we've got Shield Throw, and this is on a 19-second cooldown, which is kind of a weird number. Galilea throws her Great Shield, dealing 134 damage and stunning the target for 2 seconds. So, pretty self-explanatory there. If you want to stun someone, chuck your shield at them. It's a little hard to land. It's got a fairly tiny hitbox, but a super effective CC for her. And at level 2, we're going to make it so it does a 5-second wound if you land the attack. And at level 9, we're going to make it do 19% more damage. Now just keep in mind that when you throw your shield, you're going to need to retrieve it. So ideally you hit your target, you run in, close the gap while they're stunned, pick your shield back up, and get to hitting them in the face. But if you miss that shield throw completely, you're either going to need to fall back and get out of danger because you're not going to be able to block, or you need to run and go find your shield. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so next up we've got Desecrate. It's on a 26-second cooldown. Galilea curses the ground beneath her feet, amplifying damage to enemies within the area for 8 seconds. So, this is your kind of go-to for minion clearing. What you're going to do is drop your Desecrate, get them all taking extra damage, and then you're just going to blow them up along with the rest of your group. And because you do spin to win attacks, AoE attacks around yourself, you can take out minion waves extremely quickly. Plus, we're going to be augmenting the crap out of Desecrate. So at level 1, we're going to make it so you pull all the enemies in the desecration field into you. So you're going to get them all nice and clumped up. Also great for taking out players. At level 4, we're going to add a silence to the field when you activate it. So you're going to get everyone silent so they can't do anything. At level 6, we're going to increase the duration of your desecrate by 3 seconds. And at level 8, we're going to add a slow to the desecrate field. So not only are we going to pull them in, but we're going to make it really difficult for them to get out. Alright, and finally we've got the ultimate. Abyssal Form. It's on a 50-second cooldown. Galilea explodes into dark energy, dealing 125 damage over 4 seconds. During this time, Galilea takes reduced damage and regenerates 250 health. Now, this ultimate takes people a little while to get used to because it's there to save you, but you need to use it really early because when you use it, you become vulnerable for about a second, maybe even 2 seconds, while you're sort of falling into the ground into like a black goo. So you need to make sure you're using it early and to escape a bad situation. I guess you could use it aggressively, but I wouldn't do that. I use it as an escape option, and it's only a little bit of a heal. It's not the best ultimate in the world, but it definitely comes in handy. It'll get you out of a pinch, and just use it wisely. Don't get yourself killed by using it. And at level 10, we're going to make it so when we use it, we get full corruption. So most likely you're at full corruption anyway, but if for some reason you aren't, pop that Abyssal Form and you're going to get full corruption. Get you a little bit extra damage on the enemies, a little bit more health coming in. It might save you. It's not the best, but it's something, so we'll take something. Alright, so those are her abilities. Let's go over to the Helix. I already explained the Helix choices we make, but we're going to go over each one really quickly. So for level 1, we go up the middle with Vortex. That's what gives us the pull in on our Desecrate. You can also go to the left for Herald's Return. When Shield Throw hits a target, Galilea's Great Shield returns to her hand, and Shield Throw's cooldown is slightly reduced. So you can make it so if you land your Shield Throws, you don't need to go retrieve it. It'll come back to your hand, and you'll get a reduced cooldown. The retrieving part, I don't really find to be useful because if I hit my target, then I'm going to go in and pick it up anyway. But the reduced cooldown is kind of nice if you're really good at landing it and you want to use it more often. Although the pull on Vortex is so good. Hard to pass that one up. And then you can also go to the right with Calamity. Enemies standing within a Desecrate field are wounded, reducing healing for 5 seconds after the effect is applied. If you've got a super heal heavy team, you might consider this, but honestly I'd probably still go with the pull. But it is an option if you got a heal heavy team going against you. Alright, level 2. We go to the right with Mark of the Feeble. If we hit someone with Shield Throw, they're going to be wounded for 5 seconds. Make those healers far less effective. You can also go to the left with Skilled Throw. Shield Throw bounces to several nearby targets, dealing reduced damage with each consecutive hit. I don't like that one. I like to know that my shield is going to be at the target I hit, and the extra bounce damage isn't that great. It doesn't stun on additional targets, so that's not going to help. So I highly recommend just going with Mark of the Feeble. Alright, level 3, we go to the right with It's Dangerous to Go Alone. That gives us those corruption bolts on our weapon when we're at full HP. Tons of extra damage if you can stay at full health and get into melee range, or just a ranged attack you wouldn't have otherwise. So multi-purpose, really good, makes your damage go through the roof. You can go to the left, where if you block, it increases your corruption. Corruption's pretty easy to gain anyway, so I don't really see much of a benefit from that. And you can go up the middle with Gashing Bash. Galilea's offhand Shield Bash attack causes enemies to bleed on hit, so that's your quick melee. While you're blocking, it'll add a damage over time. Also not something I use very much, but I suppose you could go with it if you didn't think you could keep your health at full. But It's Dangerous to Go Alone should be your go-to on this level. Alright, level 4, we go to up the middle with Bleak Quiet, and that adds the silence to Desecrate. You can go to the left, adding a heal over time to your allies in the Desecrate field, although it's not very strong. It's only 30 per second. But I suppose it's a valid option. Or you could go to the right and get Forsaken Grounds, adding a damage over time to your Desecrate field. The only reason I would take that is for minion clearing. So if you're really focused on minion clearing, you could go with that. Otherwise, to me, the Silence is the clear winner. Alright, level 5, we go up the middle with the Antihero. That gives us more attack speed based on our Corruption. You can go up the left to get Health Regeneration while your Corruption is active. So if you have any Corruption whatsoever, you're going to get 21 health regen per second. It's decent, but I'd much prefer to have the attack speed. And you can also go to the right to get faster Corruption gains, but Corruption's super easy to get, so I find that one to be completely worthless. Alright, level 6, we go to the left, increasing Desecrate's duration by 3 seconds. Obviously good, especially since we're beefing up Desecrate, although most of those are on activate, so really it's just going to leave the damage amplification for longer. Let's see, or you can go to the right with Forsaking Others, which causes it so when you throw your shield and recover it, you're going to get 105 health regen per second over 5 seconds. So basically 500 health for you every time you throw your shield. And could help you stay alive, but I'd much rather have the increased Desecrate duration. Level 7, we go to the left, adding a reflect chance to projectiles on our shield. You can also go to the right, where your damage is increased when you don't have your Great Shield. So to make use of this one, you'd basically have to miss with your shield on purpose, or hit your target with the shield and go up and hit them, but make sure not to step on the shield. I never had much luck avoiding it, and I'm not going to throw my shield away on purpose, so I just go with the reflect chance because that's actually useful to me. Alright, level 8, we go to the left with Inescapable Fate, putting a slow field on the Desecrate field. And that's just going to make it really hard for people to get away from you. And if you can keep yourself at full health, get people slowed in that Desecrate so they're taking more damage. You've got the It's Dangerous to Go Alone, Corruption Bolts smashing them. They're going to get melted in that field, and they're not going to be able to get out of it quickly. Another good option is to go up the middle with Blight Town. That increases the area of effect of your Desecrate, which is really good for pulling people in at distance. It can grab people from shockingly far away, so it's also a really good option if you're not too concerned with losing the slow. I personally like the slow, but the increased radius, I played with it. It's really good. And the other option is to add a movement speed increase to your Desecrate field, which could also be good. You could pull people in, get that movement speed increase, and make sure they don't get away from you. But slow is going to have the same effect and make it so your teammates are hitting them as well. So I much prefer slowing them than just speeding up myself and any other allies who may be nearby. Alright, level 9, we go to the right with Tideturner. Hitting a target with shield throw briefly increases your movement speed. So if you hit someone with shield throw, you're going to close the gap on them much quicker and get to work. I find that to be more useful than increasing shield throw's damage. The shield throw damage is good, but not that great. 15% more doesn't really help me that much, so I tend to prefer the 30% movement speed. But honestly, either of these choices is really good. So mostly personal preference. My personal preference is Tideturner. And then level 10, we go to the right with Pitch Black. Galilea becomes fully corrupted using the ultimate, Abyssal Form. Not all that great, but neither is the left, which increases the area of effect radius of the ultimate, because it doesn't do much damage anyway. And you're mostly using it as an escape, so you don't really care if it's doing damage to the enemy or in a larger radius. So I find Pitch Black to be sometimes useful, so that's why I go with it, but neither of these are very good. Okay, so that's her abilities and the Helix choices for her. Let's go over to the gear. And as usual, I've got an Incursion and Meltdown set, a face-off set, and a cheap set for capture. So this is the expensive set. for Meltdown and Incursion, it's the same set I used for Eldragon and Caldarius. So we've got the Survivor's Regrowth Serum, health regen per second, plus extra health regen per second after surviving for 3 minutes. Really helps keep you in the fight, and also keeping you at full HP for your corruption bolt thingies from It's Dangerous to Go Alone. We got the Vow of Zealous Fury, attack speed, critical hit damage, and activating a skill stacks attack speed up to 5 stacks, 1.59% per stack. And for some reason, I struggle getting crits with most melee characters, but with Galilea, I land crits way more often. I'm not sure why, but at least for me, she's easier to land crits, so that crit hit damage really comes in handy. And then we've got the Symbiotic Gauntlet, 8.84% attack damage, 204 more maximum health, and you gain up to 8.84% attack damage based on your current percentage of max health. So yet another reason to stay high health. You're going to get extra attack damage off your Symbiotic Gauntlet, as well as the bolts from It's Dangerous to Go Alone. So just makes you focus on it a little bit more, which helps me to remember to not take damage. Alright, so that's for Incursion and Meltdown. Next we have the Face-Off set. Survivor's Regrowth Serum again. We've got the Hurricane, a white attack speed item, and the Duelist Glove, a white attack damage item. And finally, we've got the Capture set. It's got Artificial Vitae, 14 health regen per second, Hurricane for attack speed, and Duelist Glove again for attack damage. So there you go. Those are her abilities, the Helix choices I make, and the gear I like to bring for the build. So over the next, well, maybe not over the next few days because I got a new game coming out, but I will eventually be releasing some gameplay footage of this build in action to hopefully help you get a handle on the level progression, show you how I approach each game mode with her, at least Incursion and Meltdown, because that's how I like to show off these builds, and hopefully that'll give you a hand. But really, it's pretty simple. Just use your Desecrates to take out minion waves, or to pull in enemies, get them slowed, silenced, all kinds of nastiness. And whenever you need a stun, throw that shield to get them stunned and take them out. And fall back on your shield whenever you get in trouble. Don't overextend. If you do overextend, use your ultimate to get you out of trouble, hopefully. And stay high health whenever possible so you get your ranged attacks. So pretty simple approach to her. It's just a matter of learning when and when not to use your skills, really, and when to engage and when to stay back. So hopefully that gameplay footage will help you out, but that is gonna do it for this guide video. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.